Rhythm tap, which developed alongside bebop music in the mid-20th century, is a style of tap dancing that is acutely concerned with the sounds produced by the dancer. Practitioners often consider themselves musicians of jazz percussion. The music of rhythm tap involves complex patterns, often improvised in response to the improvisations of live musicians, in the manner of bebop solos. In recent years, video recordings of tap musicians' performances have become more widely accessible for viewing and study. A 2019 essay by music scholars Alison Robbins and Christopher Wells offers brief analyses that apply to tap dance the concepts of the musician's storehouse and intermusicality from the writings of jazz music scholars Paul Berliner and Ingrid Monson, respectively. The musician's storehouse refers to previously rehearsed ideas, which musicians might employ during improvisations, and intermusicality concerns references to other musical works, like intertextuality in literature. In this paper, I offer a close reading of a performance at the 2013 Stockholm Tap Festival by Dormecia Sumbry Edwards, who is considered by many to be one of the greatest tap artists of her generation. Like Robbins and Wells, I employ concepts from Berliner and from Monson to describe elements of the improvisational process. However, I draw especially on the metaphor of conversation in jazz, in which performers listen to each other and respond by quote-unquote saying something on topic. The analysis demonstrates how Dormecia interacts with the other improvising musicians who are on stage with her by using techniques that are common in jazz music performances. Dormecia modulates her tap solos to respond to both rhythmic and melodic ideas as a musician, using her taps as her instrument. While she certainly addresses the audience in addition to interacting with her fellow performers, Dormecia's dance improvisation is less about movement ideas than they are about musical ones, in my opinion. The complete performance is about 10 minutes long. The passage I will focus on in this paper is about 1 minute long and occurs roughly in the middle of the performance, and this is highlighted in yellow in this table. Dormecia and the unnamed funk jazz trio, which consists of a keyboardist, a bass guitarist, and a drummer, begin with 2 verses and a bridge from Duke Ellington's In a Sentimental Mood. At about 3 minutes in, a new section begins with a drum break in which Dormecia eventually takes part. The musicians then perform an improvisation on a chord progression in D minor, the key of the opening song. After several choruses, Dormecia gestures toward the bassist to initiate trades. Dormecia trades 4s with the bassist for about 1 minute. This means that she and the bassist alternate solos every 4 measures. Let's watch this passage together. Dormisha trades with the bassist for 6 choruses. Each time, the bassist takes the first half of the chorus and Dormisha the second half. I find the musical conversation most interesting in the second, third, fourth, and sixth choruses, so my observations will draw from these passages. To understand the trades, it is helpful to get a sense of the musical context, starting with the drum break at about 3 minutes and 16 seconds. It sounds like this. It is based on the trazio, a rhythmic formula in which a span of 8 units is divided into 3 unequal durations, 3 plus 3 plus 2. When the bass enters with a new melodic idea, its rhythm is also based on the trazio. It sounds like this. The bass performs 4 bars in D minor, plays a predominant and then dominant harmony in the next 2 bars, and then returns to D minor in the final 2 bars. When he trades with Dormisha, the bassist plays just the first 4 measures in D minor. And then, as Dormisha responds, the keyboardist marks the rest of the progression with brief touches on the chords in the 5th through 8th bars. In the second chorus, the bassist plays a 16th note rhythmic idea on pitches that descend through a D minor pentachord. I'll show you a clip of this and then Dormisha's response. In the first 2 bars of her response, Dormisha is clearly repeating the rhythmic idea introduced by the bassist, a short, long, Scotch snap pattern that repeats at the quarter note. In the next 2 bars, Dormisha introduces a new rhythmic idea. After 1 bar, characterized mostly by 16th notes, she performs a 3/16th beat step. The 4th bar features shuffle, stamp toe, stamp toe, stamp toe, stamp toe, stamp, step. The stamp toe step creates a metrical grouping dissonance as it groups 16th notes into 3s against music that groups them into multiples of 2. Let's watch that at a slower speed. The stamp toe steps create a dotted 8th pulse layer from the groups of 3/16th beats that are related to the trazio rhythm of the earlier drum break and bass melody. Whereas the drum and bass had a rhythm 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2, counting 8th beats and spanning a full measure, Dormisha's stamp toe step creates a trazio rhythm that counts 16th beats and spans a half measure, 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2, 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2. Except that the first half of the measure has a trazio variant that begins with the 2 count. So 1-2, 1-2-3, 1-2-3, followed by 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2. So the slower 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2 becomes, in Dormisha's step, 1-2, 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2. The rhythmic idea of groups of 3 at the half measure level, or dotted 8th pulses, gets taken up several more times in this passage of trades. For example, the bassist responds in his next turn with this repeating 3-note idea in the 3rd and 4th bars of his 4-bar turn. The DFG pattern expresses yet another variant of the trazio pattern, 1-2-3, 1-2, 1-2-3, if we count the rest with the first note D. The trazio rhythm, which means triplet in Spanish, tres, is approximately a classic triplet, although it divides the time span unequally or asymmetrically, whereas the classic triplet tries to divide the span equally. If notated as triplets, the half measure pattern would be understood as 3 quarter notes in the time of 2. Let's hear those approximate triplets in chorus 3 and watch Dormisha's response, which does not seem to respond directly to that particular idea. In chorus 4, the bassist picks up the quarter-quarter, eighth-eighth rhythm that Dormisha expresses at the beginning of her turn within chorus 3. The bassist's response is shown here. Let's watch and listen to chorus 4, including Dormisha's response. Dormisha responds again by imitating the bassist's rhythmic idea very closely for the first 2 measures. Step, heel, heel, step, heel, heel, step, heel, 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 step, heel, toe, heel. But in the final bar of her turn, she returns to the dotted eighth pulse idea, which groups 3/16 notes together. This is the rhythm of her steps in the turn, which is a notable moment in her performance because she draws attention to her non-sounding gestures. She places one hand on her waist, the other hand held out, and swings her hips as she turns. The audience responds with cheers as Dormisha performs her femininity, which has been a theme of her career. Earlier, she distinguished herself as a rhythm tapper by choosing to dance in high-heeled shoes, which was used mostly in Broadway, Hollywood, and commercial styles, whereas women in rhythm tap had mostly favored the low men's-style shoes in order not to be disadvantaged in volume and sound quality as they competed in the male-dominated world of rhythm tap. The audience, perhaps in recognition of this gesture of reclaiming femininity, responds with loud cheers, with one fan audibly shouting, "Girl!" As we watch that clip again, try to listen for the dotted eighth pulse steps as she turns. So far, we have seen how the idea of rhythmic threes appears at the drum break and bass solo first, and then Dormisha's performance in chorus 2 brings the rhythmic idea to the faster pulse level. The bassist repeats the idea in chorus 3, and Dormisha returns to it at the end of chorus 4. Chorus 5 moves on to other ideas, as does most of chorus 6. At the beginning of chorus 6, the bassist introduces a melodic idea, which Dormisha takes up in her response. I've reduced the melodic contour here to roughly what Dormisha's response suggests that she hears. High, low, high, low. Let's watch chorus 6. Dormisha leads into her solo with 2 stamps, which are steps taken on the full foot, engaging both the ball and heel taps on the shoe, as well as the downward directed weight of the dancer. Dormisha's stamps create a lower-pitched tone, while the brushes, which engage only the ball taps, create a higher-pitched tone. Brushes do not engage the dancer's body weight. It is an upward-directed motion. And in order to brush consecutively with both feet, there's a right-left constant alternation of feet in this passage. Dormisha jumps up to brush and then lands with her weight into the stamps, possibly creating a bigger pitch contrast than without jumping. Notice that the rhythm of high and low pitches corresponds roughly to the rhythm of high and low pitches in the bass's pattern, heard a few seconds before this. I'll show this passage in slow motion twice, first with my voiceover marking the pitch contrasts and then without.
High, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low. triplet, 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 end.
At the end of her turn, Dormisha returns again to the rhythmic idea of threes. This time, instead of a trizio pattern or dotted eighth rhythm, she performs straight triplets. She goes brush, brush, stamp, stamp, heel, heel, shuffle, heel, toe, heel, step, heel. This is her concluding statement for the trades with the bassist. Immediately following this turn, she initiates trades with the drummer. This final statement makes for an interesting mix of asymmetric and symmetric triplets in this passage, and it also creates a progression from slower to faster triplets. By renotating the asymmetric trizio rhythms into symmetric triplets, we can see that the triplets performed in the drum break and opening bass melody are 3 half notes performed in the time of 2, which is 1 complete measure. Next, the half-measure trizio patterns are like 3 quarter notes in the time of 2. And the final statement gives us 3 eighth notes in the time of 2, and these take up the span of only 1 quarter note. Let's watch the entire passage one more time before I make some concluding remarks. I have annotated this clip to review the various points I've made along the way. In the tradition of rhythm tap, Dormisha's improvised performance at the 2013 Stockholm Tap Festival develops musical ideas and expresses a musical artistry and sophistication through dance that is, in my view, underappreciated in music scholarship. The performance relies on modes of interaction, like trading fours, that are a part of the tradition of jazz music performance. By performing in this way, Dormisha seems to express her identity as a jazz musician, an insider in this way of making music and being in a musical community. To show that she is listening, which Monson points out as an important activity that is valued among jazz music performers, Dormisha employs imitation. Monson compares rhythmic imitation to Marjorie Goodwin's concept of format tying in conversation. Like other jazz musicians and rhythm tappers, Dormisha often repeats ideas at the beginning of her turn, but then moves the conversation forward with new thoughts. Monson relates this structure to Goodwin's concept of the participant framework in conversation, or turn-taking, in which, quote, participants in conversation have the job of providing next moves to ongoing talk, which demonstrate what sense they make of that talk. It therefore is possible to see how group members themselves interpret the interaction they are engaged in, unquote. In this paper, I showed how Dormisha seems to respond to certain elements of the bassist's solo, rhythmic or melodic ideas, at different times, possibly revealing her own interpretation of what she is hearing. Furthermore, I showed that Dharmesha returns at times to the rhythmic idea of threes and seems to create a type of progression of increasingly faster triplets, from the slow, asymmetric triplets of the drum break to the fast, symmetric ones at the end of her trades with the bassist. Jazz musicians also consider the long-range shaping of a performance, as Berliner demonstrates through quotes of the saxophonist Gary Bartz and others. The study of rhythm tap as music is enjoying a recent increase in attention in music scholarship, as evinced in the programs of the most recent meetings of the Society for Music Theory in the United States, as well as the 2019 essay by Robbins and Wells. This paper contributes to this discourse by showing how the improvisatory process involves a conversation-like give and take of ideas conducted in the manner of jazz music practice, of which rhythm tap is a part. In addition, I addressed how Dharmesha responds not only through rhythm, but also through pitch inflection, an element of tap dancing with which professionals take great care, but which is largely ignored in scholarship in favor of rhythm. Through her long career, Dharmesha has absorbed the traditions passed down to her from the practitioners of the mid-20th century who developed rhythm tap. Thanks to the accessibility of recordings in digital technology, Dharmesha's performances